Today, we are going to talk about school resource officers, also known as SROs. What we'll be discussing is what is a school resource officer, what is the history behind them, how do they make you or people feel, how are they teachers, what are the misconceptions, and how do we help as teachers. For the first one, what is a school resource officer? A school resource officer is an officer of the law. It doesn't mean that they're not trained or they're just hired by the school. They are a actual officer that has been trained and gone through special training in order to be able to be put into a school. Most schools either place them in full-time or part-time. They do typically wear a full police officer outfit, which would include a firearm, a police uniform, and possibly body armor. What is the history behind them? So, resource officers, the first one that was ever really mentioned or documented was in 1953. The strategy was to help improve relations with local police, and this was because there was some issues with their youth, and they wanted to create a better environment for everyone. Since 1999, there has been a significant increase in the amount of officers that have been put into schools. All of us know this is mainly due to the massive amount of school shootings that have started. As of this time, about 42% of public schools have a resource officer at least in their school once a week. There is even less that have a school resource officer in there every day. On average, it's about 20% of schools have resource officers in there every day, which is quite saddening. How do they make students feel? That is such a hard topic to get into due to my school resource officer was amazing. He helped all of us. If we had any questions, he'd always help us. But some people talk about how their judgments are biased by previous interactions with certain students. They put their judgments and feelings onto students, making them feel unsafe. Some even have gotten harmed by their student resource officers. And sadly, some have tragically passed away due to their officers. I did get a chance to talk to the school resource officer at Indian Trail when I went in for my observations. And he pretty much told me it's a love-hate relationship with the students. Some of the students really do like you being there and they feel safe, but others feel like you're there to arrest them and they feel like you are part of the problem and you shouldn't be there. But you have to remember that they are there to protect you and they are part of your defense system. And a lot of students don't fully understand that yet. How are they teachers? Depending on your school district, my school district did this where they were put into classrooms or we did assemblies in order to help reduce crimes that were happening at school, specifically vandalism at my school. And this actually did help because they were threatening actual action and fines and other things such as tickets in order to deter students from doing that. But they also did drug seminars They focused on assaults and safety measures in order to keep all students safe. What are some misconceptions? They are not paid fully by the school. They are not paid fully by the police department. They are split amongst both of them. A lot of people that think they're either a police officer, where they're only being paid by the police departments. Some only think they're being paid by the schools and aren't real officers. For us, we should now understand that they are paid for about, normally it's about 75-25, 75% by the police department, 25 by the school district. But resource officers at the schools are actual sworn police officers. They go through highly specialized training, which is about 40 to 160 hours, depending on your state. On average, it's about 65 hours across the entirety of the United States. How do they help us, or how do we help them as teachers? We help them in many different ways, but they help us in so many more. They help teachers allow us to feel safe through different training scenarios that they will bring us through during different times of the year. Recently, my aunt had gone through active shooter drill. This was without any students, and the teachers were practicing with a 6'4", 200-pound man trying to break into the classroom, and they were trying to prevent that from happening. So that is a great example of what their student resource officer did for them to help prepare. But they also can provide classroom instruction on law, safety, conflict resolution, which is quite helpful, as we know through reading our text, and emergency training, which I just talked about with my aunt. Depending on your school district, this might not always happen. My district in my area that I live in does do this, but is not required. And they are there to provide their experiences and hopefully make you feel safe. Here's my big bibliography, and thank you for watching.